I was only 10 years old when my father handed me over, and from that day, I stopped being a child. I did not grow up like other children. While boys my age were learning how to play, how to dream, how to live freely, my own father was preparing me for somewhere else, another world, a hidden world, a world of darkness and spirits that answer only to blood. I remember the day clearly, 10 years old, innocent, and then my father called me. He didn't speak like a father that day, he spoke like a man under orders. He told me I was going somewhere with him. He didn't explain anything. He didn't ask for my opinion. He simply led me to a gathering I had never seen before. That was the day everything changed for me. When I entered the place, I saw a group of men standing in a circle. They weren't smiling. They weren't welcoming. They were watching me the way a butcher watches a goat before the slaughter. They gave me something to drink, a mixture they used to open the soul to spiritual bondage. I was a child. I didn't understand anything. They blindfolded me. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what they were doing. I only heard voices chanting behind me. Then they called a man my father, but not my biological father. This one was my godfather, the one assigned to shape me, train me, break me, and rebuild me into what they wanted. From there, they took me to the bush. There, they used blood. They gave me bat meat. They gave me food that was dedicated. They carried out rituals that connected me to their kingdom. Over my head, they performed something like a spiritual baptism, using water that was not ordinary water, substances that opened my spiritual eyes even as they closed my innocence. And from that moment, I stopped being an ordinary boy. You see, after my initiation, there was a woman assigned to me, one who knew the depth of the occult, one who controlled altars. She took me to a burial ground where she kept a shrine. She used her hands to rub things into my body. She fed me with food that was not natural. Everything she gave me had a purpose, to fortify, to seal, to initiate deeper. She told me, eat, don't reject anything, and I obeyed, because I didn't know I had a choice. This woman was powerful in the realm she operated in. She controlled spirits that would later appear to me. She knew how to send people out of their bodies. She knew how to call on beings not of this world. I didn't understand what was happening then. I only knew that every time she finished with me, I felt different, like something heavy had been placed inside me. They started showing me things. They taught me to disappear. They taught me how to use mirrors to enter places I had never been physically. They took me into meetings where grown men bowed to spirits. They would ask me, "What did you see?" And when I described it, they nodded the way a teacher nods at a promising student. I didn't know it was training, but they were grooming me for ranking, for assignments, for the journey ahead. Before I knew it, I was serving entities, names I didn't understand then. Some people call them gods, others call them spirits. But they are beings tied to the kingdom of darkness, and I was being shaped to become a vessel for them. One night, I felt something enter my room. I heard movement. I saw shadows walking. Something lifted my bedsheet. And then I saw a hand that wasn't human. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But I couldn't move. The presence held me down. From that moment, fear became a normal companion to me. But at the same time, I found my senses becoming sharp. I started hearing things others couldn't hear. I started seeing things others couldn't see. They called it awakening, but it was bondage. Deep bondage. Even before I turned 11, I had already been exposed to sacrifices. I had already witnessed rituals. I had already been taken to places children should never see. I saw spirits in white, beings they call Bellas or white angels in the cult realm. I saw the ones that come from the water. I saw the departments where spirits are assigned based on rank. I saw the altars where destinies are exchanged. And at the center of everything was the spirit they call Leviathan or Leviathan, the central force behind many occult systems. The truth here is that, as a child, I didn't understand, but they were preparing me for something much bigger than I realized. People think occultism starts in universities. Mine started long before I even understood what school meant. You see, the sad thing is that, on the outside, I looked like every other child, but inside, I was carrying secrets. Inside, I had knowledge no child should possess. Inside, spirits were already following me. Inside, altars had already been erected on my head. I went to school like every other boy. But while others were learning mathematics, I was learning the codes of the spirit world. While others played football, I was being taught how to summon, how to invoke, how to move between realms. Children are supposed to grow. But I was being shaped. My father never apologized. He never explained why he gave me away. He acted as if it was normal, as if it was destiny. I didn't know what a normal childhood looked like. All I knew was obedience. All I knew was darkness. All I knew was that my life was already marked, and somewhere deep inside, I began to accept it. I thought it was my fate. I thought it was who I was born to become. I did not know that one day, another kingdom, light, would come looking for me, but that day was still far away. The things they trained me to do before I turned 15, if I revealed them, many won't believe a child could carry such darkness. You see, by the time I turned 15, I was no longer a victim. I had become one of their most useful weapons. Growing up inside darkness is different from entering it as an adult. Adults negotiate. Adults question. Adults resist. Children simply absorb. By my early teens, the spirit they gave me access to had already shaped my thinking, my emotions, my instincts. They were teaching me to operate without fear, without conscience, without hesitation. The altars they used on me as a child matured in my teenage years. I began to feel a strange confidence, one that didn't belong to a boy. It was supernatural boldness, the kind darkness gives to those it wants to use. I was climbing in ranks without struggling. I was being trained for things that demanded loyalty no teenager should possess. I was becoming a vessel. As I grew, the rituals changed. They no longer fed me only bat meat and fortified meals. They began introducing deeper seals, rituals that bonded the soul to the spirit world permanently. Sometimes they took me to the bush at night. Sometimes the rituals happened in rooms no one else could enter. Sometimes they used mirrors to pull things out of me or put things in. I watched them call spirits from water. I watched them speak to entities that didn't speak human language. I watched things appear. I watched things disappear. And whenever they asked me, "What did you see?" I told them, and they nodded again, the nod of approval they give to someone they are grooming for high-ranking operations. By the time I entered my mid-teens, I had already been exposed to departments, the branches of the occult world where spirits are assigned based on their functions. Some spirits were for seduction, some for manipulation, some for destruction, some for wealth, some for political power, some for ending lives, some for spiritual espionage. And they were teaching me how to interact with all of them. I was instructed on how to recognize the spirits that come as white beings, the Bellas. I was educated on the marine spirits, those who operate through water. I was shown how operations were carried out in the night and how destinies could be manipulated through dreams. I didn't just watch, I participated. I was being shaped into a weapon. The mirror became one of my strongest tools. They taught me how to use it to see beyond the physical, how to enter places without moving, how to monitor people, how to track someone spiritually, how to carry out assignments without being physically present. Sometimes, I would sit in front of the mirror, and my eyes would change, my senses would shift. I would begin to see images moving that weren't reflections. The mirror wasn't reflecting me, it was opening to a realm. A boy my age should have been watching cartoons. I was watching spirits. And the more I watched, the more they trusted me. They also taught me how to disappear. Not physically vanish into thin air, but spiritual disappearance, where someone could be looking at me but not see me. They taught me how to bypass danger, how to escape ambush, how to enter places unnoticed, how to walk into gatherings where decisions were being made and observe without being observed. This skill made me valuable. This skill made me dangerous. You see, people saw a teenager. They didn't know I was already serving as a spiritual operative for forces older than nations. Assignments came in different forms. Some were simple, monitoring someone, influencing someone, planting fear, causing confusion. Some were deeper, spiritual manipulation of a person's mind, breaking a destiny, causing someone to reject opportunities, entering a person's dream to alter outcomes. And the darkest were the political assignments. Let me tell you this, long before elections, long before campaigns, the occult world had already mapped out plans. Politicians came to these altars, not always in person, sometimes through their representatives. They sought power, influence, control, protection, and victory. My role as a teenage operative was often indirect, influencing the mind of a rival, weakening an opponent's confidence, causing chaos in strategic places, spiritually blocking someone from attending an important meeting, destabilizing a community, fueling fear that shifts public opinion. Most people think elections are won on TV or on campaign grounds. Those are just mere formalities. And these politicians know, people do not know what happens in the invisible realm, They don't know how many destinies are tampered with before a ballot box is opened. Again, as I progressed, they introduced me to the role of women in the occult hierarchy. They taught me how spirits use beauty, seduction, and emotional vulnerability to capture destinies. I saw how men, strong, educated, respected men, were reduced to slaves through sex that was not ordinary sex. They showed me how a simple encounter could plant a spiritual deposit inside a man, how a woman tied to a marine spirit could drain someone's favor, strength, or finances, how a relationship could be used to monitor a person spiritually, how a kiss could become a covenant. At my age, I shouldn't have known any of these things, but I knew them intimately, because I saw them happen. I saw destinies exchanged. I saw virtue stolen. I saw great men fall. And every lesson I learned shaped me into something darker. One of the most dangerous abilities they gave me was the power of influence, the ability to control people subtly. Let me explain. I could speak to someone and bend their mind toward the decision I wanted. I could silence someone without raising my voice. I could break someone's courage with a simple word. I could create confusion in a group without saying anything directly. This form of oppression is more dangerous than physical attacks, because it moves silently. It destroys without leaving marks. It binds without chains. They were preparing me to become someone people feared but didn't understand. As a child growing up, my teenage years were supposed to be the years of self-discovery. But for me, they were years of self-destruction. Every ritual pulled me deeper. Every assignment hardened me more. Every spiritual encounter buried my humanity further. I didn't know what love felt like. I didn't know what innocence felt like. I didn't know what peace felt like. All I knew was power. All I knew was spirits. All I knew was darkness. And I thought it would last forever. I didn't know that another kingdom was already watching me, waiting for the right moment to confront everything I had become. You see, by 17, I had seen things grown men run from, but the encounter that broke me was something none of my initiators prepared me for. Darkness trained me, but it was light that came for me uninvited. For years, the occult world had complete control over me. I didn't question. I didn't resist. I didn't imagine any other life. But one night, something changed. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It wasn't spiritual fireworks. It was simply a thought, a tiny whisper inside me, go to church. The voice didn't sound like mine. It didn't sound like any spirit I knew. It wasn't familiar. In the occult world, every spirit has a tone, a frequency, a presence. But this was different. I tried to ignore it. I tried to silence it. But it kept coming back gently, persistently, and almost tenderly. It made no sense. Darkness doesn't invite people to light. Something was coming for me. Something I had not been trained to fight. You see, the pull grew stronger. It wasn't physical. It wasn't emotional. It felt like my soul was being tugged. At first, I thought it was a trap. I assumed the spirits were testing me, trying to see if I would disobey. But the feeling didn't go away. It increased every day. I found myself walking near a church, accidentally at first. Then intentionally. Then with a strange trembling I couldn't explain. I didn't go inside. I just stood outside, watching. My heart was beating in a way I had never experienced. It wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It was something I didn't have a name for yet. Then, one Sunday, the pull became too strong to resist. I walked into the church. Not because I wanted to, but because something was drawing me with a force stronger than occult covenants. I stood at the back. My eyes scanned the place. My mind was calculating. My spirits were restless. And then, something happened. During the service, I felt a surge, like a wave hitting my chest. Before I could understand what was happening, I fell. I didn't fall gently. I collapsed. In front of everyone, I lost consciousness. People thought it was deliverance. They thought it was the Holy Spirit. They thought it was a breakthrough. They didn't know it was war. While I was unconscious, something was happening to me in the spirit realm. Something was shaking foundations that had been built in me since childhood. When I woke up, I didn't know what happened. I only knew I felt weak, violently weak, as if something inside me had been torn out. I told myself I wouldn't go back again. But the voice returned and asked me to go back. Against my own will, I returned the next Sunday. And the moment the worship started, I felt it, a heat, a pressure, a confrontation. It was as if light had located me again, directly this time. Something inside me began resisting. Something else began rising. My vision blurred, and again, I fell, unconscious, right on the altar. The people didn't know the battle wasn't between them and me. It was between two kingdoms, and I was the battlefield. When I woke up the second time, fear entered me, not fear of men, not fear of spirits, but fear of something holy, something pure, something I couldn't name. By the third Sunday, I was troubled. The occult forces around me were restless. I could feel anger in the spirit realm. The beings who once protected me now watched me with suspicion. I walked into the church again. But this time, everything erupted. During prayer, I felt like my chest was splitting open. My mouth began saying things I didn't intend to say. My body moved without my permission. Then I fell hard. That third unconsciousness was different. It wasn't like the first two. This one felt like I was being stretched between two realms. In the spirit, I saw altars shaking. I heard voices screaming. I felt hands trying to pull me back. I felt something tearing from my soul, something that had lived inside me for years. The church thought I was being delivered. But this was more than deliverance. It was a transfer of ownership. When I came back to consciousness, the first words I heard in my spirit were clear and strong: "You will not die in darkness." I had never heard anything like that before. I had never felt anything like that before. And on that third Sunday, the spirits that once obeyed me began to fear me. When I left the church after the third collapse, everything around me changed. The spirits that used to appear boldly began appearing faintly, hesitantly. Some stopped coming. Some came with anger. Some came with threats. But they didn't have the same authority. For the first time in my life, they were shaking. I realized something. When a higher power enters a battlefield, lower powers tremble even if they pretend not to. But the occult world doesn't give up easily. They came after me harder. The night after the third Sunday, the attacks began. I felt presences enter my room. Shadows moved. Cold wind swept across my face. I heard whispers. They tried to suffocate me. They pressed my chest. They pressed my throat. They tried to pull my soul out of my body. But something else was in the room with me. Something they couldn't overpower. Even though I didn't pray, I felt a shield, something standing between me and them. They couldn't touch me the way they used to. That's when I knew the kingdom of light was taking over. Over the next days and weeks, my ability to disappear started fading. My mirror stopped responding. The spirit of seduction stopped appearing. The marine spirits grew silent. Rituals I used to perform started failing. Assignments became impossible. My authority in darkness collapsed. I wasn't losing power. I was being disconnected. Every day felt like a wire being unplugged from my soul. And for the first time, instead of fear, I felt relief. It didn't happen in one day. It didn't happen with one prayer. It happened through constant confrontation. You see, every time I stepped into church, something broke. Every sermon felt like it was exposing me. Every prayer felt like fire. Every worship song felt like a hammer. And one night, during prayer, I felt something leave my body, something heavy. I didn't understand salvation yet. I didn't understand Jesus yet. I didn't understand grace yet. But I understood one thing: something was fighting for me. Something stronger than everything I had served. Something that wanted me alive. And I didn't know why. I thought deliverance was the hardest part, until I discovered the occult world wasn't done with me. They wanted revenge.
If you want to hear from him again, just focus on spirituality as a subject. Please let me know in the comment section. Please share to your friends. Help us to build this platform. Our aim is to build people and let them know what is hidden in this realm. So we keep working really hard to bring a lot of interesting testimonies and episodes to you. So thank you very much for watching this episode. See you in the next part. Thank you guys and bye.